Hi, this is Ken with Village Green, giving you your latest quick tip. This one is a spotlight on Mr. and Mrs. G's home in Allen, Texas. So this landscape was a lot of fun because Mrs. G in particular was really excited about her landscape. In fact, the first day when David Daigle, our architect, and I, when we met her and Mr. G out on at their place to discuss what her vision was of her home and her landscape, Mrs. G was so excited that she spent 20 or 30 minutes telling us all about it in a pretty heavy drizzle. And she was completely oblivious to the fact that all of us were getting drenched. And I was having trouble writing all of my notes that I normally take on my iPad. I kept having to wipe it off. She didn't even notice because she was so excited to have somebody to talk to about her vision for how she'd like for her landscape to be. And that's just infectious when you have somebody that excited about their place. That's really what we're all about. So when this is phase one of the landscape. We have several phases that we'll probably do, but the first phase here was that we had to remove a lot of tall plants that were blocking the view of her landscape. And so what we did was to put some medium-sized ornamental grasses that you can see over there on the right-hand side. In front of those, we've got some daylilies to add some color, and some actually those are giant liripe, rather, those small plants there. And we have Anthony Water spirea here. Those are going to have a pink bloom as they fill out. Those are going to bloom sometime over the late summertime, and then as we go on around. This is an unusual tree. This is one that Mr. G really wanted. This is a weeping redbud, and that's going to be the first bloomer here. That's going to be the first bloomer of the year, and it'll probably start blooming over the next week or so. And that's really unusual. You don't normally see weeping redbuds. We use the Oklahoma one quite a bit, but not the weeping variety. In front of that and below, you're going to see these are Gulf Stream nandinas. That's what the feathery plants are, and those are going to get about 3 or 4 feet tall. We created this rough sitting area here out of flagstone that Mrs. G already had, and that's where the daylilies are that are in front of it. But you can see that we've cleared out in front of the entry so that you're able to see the numbers, and you're able to see the beautiful front that she has. The sidewalk does this kind of a bend, and before we tore everything out, they had some really tall plants there that were screening the entire front. So we removed those, put in more daylilies there as well, and irises, and then past that, what we did was to use a plant called variegated sedge. That's the grassy plant, the kind of gold-colored grassy plant. And then we put in, at the very edge there, we put in a trailing rosemary. That's going to get about 2 feet tall, but it's going to spread and it's going to trail over the edge of this stone wall. And then as we go on around, you see that we did more of the Gulf Stream nandina by the entry, just past the boulder. We did some shamrocks. That's what the purple plant is. Or I'm sorry, that's Huchera. And then on the outside edge, we put in variegated pittosporum. We use those quite a bit on the outside edge of a home. Those are cream colored, and those are going to get about 6-7 feet tall, something like that. and those are going to screen or frame really the edge of the house. So that is Mr. and Mrs. G's landscape. And you can see it has really changed the appearance of their home. This is Ken with Village Green.